Hey guys, it's me, and today I'm reading Red Riding Hood. Now, this one is gonna be marked for kids, unlike my normal content, because I'm mainly doing this because my niece liked the other ones that I turned into a series, so I thought, why not see if other kids like to see grown men reading to them on the internet? Uh, so yeah, this one is gonna be marked for kids, unlike my other videos. It's me reading Red Riding Hood. Hope you enjoy. Red Riding Hood. There was once a pretty little girl who lived with her mother and father in a cottage near a great wild forest. One day, a messenger brought her a present from her grandmother, who lived on the other side of the forest. I wonder what it could be, she said, as she took some scissors and began to cut through the string. When the parcel was opened, there was the most beautiful red cape, which to her delight fitted perfectly. She liked the cape so much that she wore it every day, wherever she went. Soon everyone called her Red Riding Hood. One day, she One day when she was helping her mother to hang out the washing, a letter addressed to Red Riding Hood arrived. She was very excited and asked her mother to read it straight away. "It is your grandmother's birthday today," said her mother. "She wants you to have tea with her this afternoon." Red Riding Hood was pleased. She was very fond of her grandmother and enjoyed going to her house on the other side of the forest. Oh, wait, forgot to. I think kids like it when you show them the pictures too. Red Riding Hood decided to take her grandmother some birthday presents. Her mother found her a basket, and they packed it with 6 brown eggs, a pot of honey, some cheese, and a large round fruit cake. When her father heard about the visit, he shook his head and looked very worried. He was one of the king's woodcutters and knew all about the wild forest and its dangers. "Remember to keep to the long path round the edge of the forest," he told his daughter. "If you try to take a shortcut through the trees, you might meet the fierce old wolf who lives in the middle of the forest. It isn't safe to go there all by yourself." After her father's warning, Red Riding Hood was very frightened for a moment. She wanted to stay safely at home, but then she remembered why she was going on the journey. "I can't miss Granny's birthday," she thought, and waving goodbye to her parents, she set off on the long road ahead around the forest. Gradually, the sky grew darker and it began to rain. Red Riding Hood felt so wet and cold that her teeth began to chatter. When she came to the top of a hill, she could see the roof of her grandmother's cottage peeping out above the trees. "If I take the short path through the trees, I'll be there in no time," she thought, and despite her father's warning, she ran down the hill to the edge of the forest. Yeah, like I said, this video is gonna be marked for kids because, again, I'm making this because my niece liked the other times I did this on video, and my niece is around the age that would qualify as a children's thing. Red Riding Hood peered, I think that's how you say it, into the gloomy forest. She could see the path twisting ahead like a pale ribbon among the dark trees. I'll be at Granny's much sooner if I hurry through the forest, she thought, and started nervously along the path. The trees looked very strange. Some of them bent almost double with age, their branches throwing sinister shadows across the forest. Red Riding Hood felt as though hidden eyes were watching her. She glanced over her shoulder quickly and pulled her cape closer to her. Oh, by the way, I missed something. Just because it's marked for kids doesn't mean I would judge you adults for watching this. I think good kids content should be something that adults can also enjoy. She glanced over her shoulder quickly and pulled her cape closer to her. She went deeper into the forest. The path became harder and harder to follow. "Oh dear," she cried as it twisted first one way and then the other. "I must have taken a wrong turning. The path seems to come to an end at this old tree." Suddenly, Red Riding Hood heard something move in the trees nearby. She spun around, and there stood a huge wolf. He had been following her all the time. Red Riding Hood was very frightened, but the wolf. Red Riding Hood was very frightened, but the wolf bowed deeply and smiled at her. Hello, little traveler." He peered. He purred, I guess. "I see that you have lost your way. Perhaps I can help you. I know the forest rather well." Astonished at his kindness, Red Riding Hood explained how she was going to have tea with her grandmother, who lived on the other side of the forest. "The other side of the forest?" laughed the wolf. "That's easy. Just follow this path through the trees, and you'll be there in next to no time." Thanking the wolf for his help, Red Riding Hood followed his directions and was soon happily making her way to Granny's cottage. "That fooled her," chuckled the wolf as Red Riding Hood hurried off along the path which he had shown her. "Now Red Riding Hood will take hours to reach her grandmother's house. If I take the real road through the forest, I'll be there long before she arrives. There will be plenty of time to prepare a little surprise." The scheming old wolf was right. when he came to Granny's cottage. Not a soul was in sight. He looked all around, then tiptoed up the garden path and opened the front door. When he crept inside, the wolf found the house was empty. He looked in every room, but could find no sign of the old lady. No matter, he said to himself. She must have forgotten all about Red Riding Hood and gone out for a walk. At last, Red Riding Hood came to her grandmother's cottage. She reached up and knocked at the door. "Come in, child," said a thin, quivering voice from inside the house. "I've been expecting you." To her surprise, Red Riding Hood found the room in darkness, and her grandmother was sitting in bed with the covers drawn round her. "It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon," she exclaimed. "Really?" said her grandmother. "I must have overslept. Come closer and let me see you." "Why, Granny, what big eyes you've got," said Red Riding Hood, peering through the shadows. "All the better to see you, dear. And what big ears you've got," Red Riding Hood continued nervously. She began to feel very uneasy. She wasn't even sure that it was Granny. "All the better to hear you, my dear," smiled Grandmother. "And such enormous teeth," gasped Red Riding Hood, stepping back. "All the better to eat you." At this, the wolf sprang out of bed and snapped his cruel white fangs at Red Riding Hood. "I know I'm going to enjoy my dinner," he snarled and chased her around the room. "Help!" shrieked the poor girl. "The wicked wolf is after me. Oh, somebody please help!" No matter where she ran, the wolf seemed sure to catch Red Riding Hood. Then, all of a sudden, the door flew open and there stood her father with his trusty crossbow. He took careful aim and killed the wolf with a single shot. "It's all right," he he said as he comforted Red Riding Hood. "The wolf won't harm you now." "But what about poor Granny?" she sobbed. "The wolf was here when I arrived. How did he get into the house?" "Don't you worry about her," laughed her father. "Your grandmother is far too clever to be taken in by a sly old wolf in search of his dinner." Red Riding Hood dried her eyes and ran out into the garden. Sure enough, there stood her grandmother, overjoyed to see her. Red Riding Hood, safe and sound. "Oh, I'm so pleased to see you," she cried. "I was picking some flowers to put on the table when I saw that nasty old wolf come creeping through the trees. I hid behind a bush until he had gone into the house, and then I ran to the village to fetch help. As quickly as I could, I met your father on the edge of the forest, and we hurried back to find you. I should have known it wasn't you," laughed Red Riding Hood as she hugged her grandmother. "His ears were too big." Her father came out of the house holding Red Riding Hood's basket. "Let's fetch your mother and have our picnic in the woods," he said. And so Red Riding Hood had a birthday tea with her grandmother after all. Alright, hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe if you want to. You can't turn on post notifications or comment below because, like I said, this one's going to be marked for kids because it was mainly because my niece enjoys these and she's definitely around that age. And I'll see you next time. Bye.